We'll move on to agenda 19E, Commission Regulation 20-02, 20 Black Bear Season. Wildlife Staff Specialist Pat Jackson for possible action. The Commission will consider adopting 2020 season open management units, hunting hours, special regulations, sex, legal weapon requirements, hunt boundary and date times for indoctrination courses for black bear.
Pat Jackson, Specialist, here for season recommendations, bears. The seasons we recommend, and I'll premise that we're not changing anything, September 15th to December 1st or until harvests are met for the same unit groups that we've used in the past. To go over our previous harvest, what we're basing our recommendation off of, 17 bears were harvested in the 2019 season, 3 males, 14 females. You can see those mean just under 16% of the harvest was female. Looking at these harvest statistics, we can see that 2 of the 3 indices are in light harvest, 1's in heavy, but that is also, we use the 3-year harvest average to increase the size and have a better understanding of what's going on. Looking at 3, just under 25% of the females are in the harvest. Mean age of female just over 5 years, and a mean age of males at 6.5. So year average, we're looking at 2 indices indicating light harvest and 1 for stable. And with that, just that you adopt Commission Regulation 2010. I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Questions for Jackson? Commissioner Hubbs?
Was it last year opened up some areas for the bear hunt? I think the commission voted on. Was it it was in the 200s, I'm not sure. There were 2 new, and you reached the harvest early in those areas, is that correct?
We added 2, 3, and I believe that was 2 years ago, not 1.
And in that area, one of the areas that you reached the harvest limit, I was trying to go back, 203 and 209.
Commissioner Hubbs, my apologies. We did reach a harvest limit in one of the areas this year. However, I had intended to remind myself that which one it was. However, off the top of my head, I don't. I'm happy to go quickly summon that on my computer, or someone else in the department remembers.
Well, it says the total harvest limit was reached in unit group 203 and 209. On the back of it.
I didn't write that. Just 1 second. This will take about 1 minute. A follow-up question or anything while I summon this.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall I'm just going to, obviously, we all as a commission get a lot of correspondence on the black bear hunt. And in the position serving for the general public, I like to at least disclose that there are still coming correspondence for individuals out in the community. Some were not even local, some were from other states, but who are strongly against the hunt. So I tried to just compile for the record some of the overall notes and issues that came up on behalf of the public. As some reference to America's Wildlife Value Survey concerning the use of dogs, showing that overall 80% of the population that was polled strongly dislike the use of dogs, or strongly disagree with the use of dogs. There was also many comments as to how this violates the fair law. And another resentment was that the hunt was not necessary for management purposes. but only being done for sport. Some of the more objective comments were that the public believes that this is cruel. It's the bear out before hibernation so that it harms it biologically, and that overall they consider it, and that this hunt indirectly harms cubs. I did receive also some comments for people in support of the hunt, not many as those unopposed to or proposed hunt. One of the main things was that they enjoy the hunt, and that others wanted to bring up the use of dogs and how it actually helps selectively seek the bear in terms of the bear's sex, size, and such when they're hunting. So I think one of the things I would like to go over is what are our options with setting seasons so the public knows, because many of them write to me and just say, just stop the hunt. I believe that's not possible at this time. We're talking about season only. Is that correct?
Jackson staff specialist for the record. So yes, we are setting today, and we'll have harvest recommendations, I believe, at the meeting.
Correct. So if we were going to do something, I mean, we can't close the season, is that correct? Or could we propose that?
Phone a friend, the director, Tony.
I believe within the committee's purview as setting the season, it's in your purview to discontinue a season where there is a statute that, I don't know the exact language, but indicates the closure of any season must be based on scientific, so it could be one consideration.
I just, it's helpful for us to put that on record again when comments are coming, so the public understands what our capabilities might be. So when they're saying, we want you to close it, it's not quite as simple as that in our policies, but I just wanted to bring that up because I get a lot of requests to just stop it altogether. So for that, that's all I'm going to say right now, and I'll leave it to other commissioners who have questions.
Questions for Mr. Jackson? If none, I'm going to take it out to public comment. Start. Go.
No comment in Elko.
Thank you. Comment in Reno.
David Goff, Washoe County, on the behalf of Nevada Sporting Dogs, for the record, I have submitted a copy of the letter I will read for the record as well. Chairman Johnston and members of the board, the Nevada Sporting Dog supports the black bear season as recommended by the Department of Wildlife for the 2020 hunting season. The harvest composition of the 2019 season was excellent and indicates a continued light harvest of Nevada's black bear population. Of note in the 2019 harvest composition were improvements in total sow harvest, down to 18% compared to 20% in 2018, as well as improvement in the utilization of meat, 100% compared to 90% in 2018. Successful bear hunter summaries indicated that a total of 18 additional bears were passed, implying that successful bear hunters continue to be selective in their harvests. This is especially true for hunters employing the use of trained hounds, which account for 77% of the total bears passed during the hunt. Most notably, the average age of bears harvested in the hunt is 8.6 years old, which represents a light harvest of the bear population. For these reasons, and in the absence of any based reasons to the contrary, we urge you to approve the 2020 black bear season as written. We appreciate your commitment to the management of our state's wildlife resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rowdy Fitzgerald, resident of Nevada, and current transfer from California.
and I'd like to say that I specifically picked Nevada because of being able to hunt with hounds and ability to hunt bears specifically. I'd like to urge you guys to follow the science. Please don't let emotional feelings dictate what the science proves. And I'd like to thank the Nevada Sports Association for all the work they do. Thank you.
Any more comments? Okay. More comments.
Hello, this is Karen, Chester County resident, unabashed mutualist. I'm waiting for undeterred folks on this board and in the department of this trophy hunt that was developed 10 years ago to satisfy the governor's cronies. No science involved in developing this hunt. How interesting that we use science to close seasons, but we didn't use science to open the season. No benefit to wildlife, and I'm still waiting for the first ecosystem folks to discuss the impact of dogs to the ecosystem. I also want to thank commissioners for considering other states' input, because hunters do that all the time. They consider other states' input for discussing hunting. Thank you.
Steve Robbins, Washoe Cab. At our Washoe Cab meeting, we have 100% support from the public for this hunt. And unanimous of the cab to support the bear season as proposed. Thank you.
Public comment in Reno?
Yes, Commissioner Johnston. Burnside, Douglas Cab, I apologize for slipping in after you the roll call of the cabs. At our the other night, we discussed the confusion in the description of boundaries for areas or for units 192, 194, and we to recommend to you that you extend the western boundaries of 192 and 194 to the shores of Lake Tahoe, and that should add shotgun as a legal weapon with using slugs on bear.
That it? No more comment in Reno. Thank you, Chairman Johnson.
Thank you. Public comment here in Las Vegas. Ms. Wright.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Wright, and I once again am speaking in opposition of the black bear hunt. As I stated in previous testimony for this commission, the bear hunt is not a management tool. We have the hunt for no reason other than hunter opportunity. My opposition to the trophy hunt, which is specific, is a questionable hunting practice in my opinion. We know the use of dogs is not popular with most Nevadans. A recent Nevada State report of the Americans Wild Value Survey report stated that 60% of those polled were against the use of dogs, yet the practice continues. Why? I feel the use of dogs is a violation of fair chase. The dogs are GPS collars, they are off-leash, off-trail, and are stressing other wildlife as they run wild over the terrain. Hunters are tracking the dogs, not the bears. How is it fair to the bear? I also feel this is a violation of NDOW 503.010. Of that statute says it's unlawful to use any information obtained from a radio signal or other transmission device received from any transmitting device. 6E says it's unlawful to harass or take any game, mammal, bird, or other wildlife. 9C says harass as molest, chase, rally, trade, bird, intercept, torment, or drive. This is exactly what dogs are doing in the hunt. Why is this allowed as an ethical hunt practice? The Fish and Wildlife Relevancy Roadmap that Director Bosley presented yesterday's meeting mentions several recommendations with impact on wildlife agencies. I mention a few. Agency leadership and their governing bodies must recognize the need for conservation agencies to adapt to changing societal conditions, demonstrate support for adaptation efforts. Agency leadership and their governing bodies need to demonstrate commitment to be more inclusive of diverse perspectives and interests in wildlife, their habitats, and outdoor recreation activities. Agencies need to increase application of social science information to better understand, engage, and serve broader constituencies. This goes on, and it's apparent that agencies and their governing boards need to be open to views other than hunters. Please do not let this season's discussion be deja vu, and paraphrase Yogi Berra. Anyway, please vote no on the hunt.
Thank you. Ms. Myers.
Hi, Stephanie Myers for the record. I oppose the black bear hunt, though I'm not anti, but I do oppose this hunt and the mountain hunt also, as many people do, and probably a majority of the United States population opposes this if they even knew it existed. There are several reasons I oppose it, also the ones that Ms. Wright just gave. There is no stated wildlife management objective for this hunt. NDOW that we have this hunt for the health of the animals or the health of the herd. Nowhere is that stated. Rather, what we get for the hunt is the population can sustain losses, can sustain these quotas. Is that really a good reason to have the black bear hunt? Also, I believe that the black bear hunt is a trophy hunt because what do you do with the bear? The head goes on the wall, the skin goes on it's a rug. To me, it's the definition of a trophy hunt. That's all it's being used for is decoration. Also, I oppose this hunt because of the use of hounds. It has been suggested already. Not only is it a violation of fair chase, it's also destructive. Even in exercising the dogs, what the dogs do? They harass wildlife. So I object to this particular hunt on those grounds and others. Problem can be dealt with separately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Myers.
Dave Talaga, Clark County Cab. The cab voted in favor of the season. The one dissenting vote expressed by a previous commenter was it's solely a trophy hunt and not a management tool. What I'd like to say that is, Commissioner Hubbs, you mentioned that people wrote it was cruel and barbaric. I wonder if those same people would say that all hunting is cruel and barbaric, which is not a litmus for allowing or detracting from a hunt. Secondly, it has been said that there is no management value for the hunt. Well, I wonder at that comment, when does a hunt or when does a species reach a certain threshold where it can be construed as a candidate hunt? The NDOW tell us the health of birds, the health of the animals that are in the hunt, and we should rely on them if it's a good idea. So I propose that we hunt and that we use this to manage the animal, but also under before there was an NDOW to manage a herd, there was a herd, there were hunters. So the hunters preceded the management.
Nuala Wildridge, record. Good morning, commissioners. I often hear words like harvest and culling and management referring to hunting pursuits. And I think in many cases that's to convey an image to the consumptive public sector, but it's basically coding. When we're talking about the bear hunt, like trophy hunts and like killing contests, these are nothing more than kill for the spectacles. They're inhumane and they're unnecessary, especially defined by the North American model of wildlife conservation, which is the world's most successful system of conservation and management. And that is one that agencies and most respectable hunters abide by, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. Two important tenets of the North American model are that one does not take or use wildlife for economic benefit, wasteful, illegitimate, unsportsmanlike purposes. The Management Code includes a commitment to perpetuation, non-commercial use, and also stipulates that no unnecessary pain or suffering was inflicted. There are people in this room whose duty it is to be as trustees for wildlife and stewards of its perpetuation for future generations, and to ensure its proper use by upholding the high ethical principles. And I think included in that group should be the interests of hunters, those of us who prefer to use wildlife in other ways that doesn't include harming them. Essentially, wildlife does belong to all Nevadans. It belongs to all of us. Some of us prefer to enjoy it in different ways. I know there are concerned hunting groups that wildlife watchers are seeking to ban all hunting activities, and that's simply not the case. All we're seeking is humane practices and adherence to the North American model. As you can see, there's been increased public awareness of these issues, and so I hope, because of that this commission will consider both hunting and non-hunting so that there's more equitable representation. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Volz?
For the Fred Volz, the NDOW guesstimates of our state's bear population fluctuated dramatically, running anywhere from between 600 and 800 bears, and now supposedly somewhere below 400 range, with a cogent explanation for the radical variances. At a 10% mortality rate, we start losing the bear's population ability to replace itself and continue on a long, slow slide toward extinction. Through December 2nd, 2019, 41 known bears died in Nevada for just under 1 year. 16 of those were from the hunt last year and were listed in the staff report. However, 8 more were killed by NDOW as nuisances, 14 were killed by vehicles, 1 was euthanized, 1 was found dead. The problem with the statistics is they fail to reflect 2 other categories of deaths. Bears died after being pursued and shot, but nearly killed, then escaping only to die from their injuries somewhere in the wild. How many bears died from being relentlessly and mercilessly pursued by hounds, GPS collars, violating fair chase principles, then falling off the edge of cliffs or some other perilous setting into crevices or canyons? The mortality numbers could easily be much higher than what NDOW tracks and thinks it knows. Ask yourselves how your own family would respond if mom and or dad were killed and the kids were left to fend for themselves in the wilderness with no adult guidance or training. This unsavory situation has happened every year to families with no concern for the mortality rates of dependent who no longer have parents, adding further to the unknown death toll. This barely never had any sound biological justification. It should not be continued for another season given the lack of accurate and population guesstimates or mortality statistics. Set the seasons today, then set the quotas at 0. Thank you.
Any additional public comment in Las Vegas? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Pat, I had a couple real quick questions. When was the last population estimate conducted? Marker or anything else?
That was with Jim said a year ago.
It was about a year ago, and, yeah. And that number was the what was that?
Yeah,
number?
If I recall, before he retired, and I can't pin him down. That meeting pointed out that that estimate only includes individuals 18 years and older. So, and then he made the offhand remark, "Oh, I could do this, that, and estimate that juvenile population." So he has not done that. I'm still trying to do so.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Mortality, including your harvest determination, are those numbers the determined light harvest, stable, and heavy harvest, are they based on total mortality, or are those very specific to removal through hunting?
So like lions, we only look at the hunter take. However, it's documenting lions, and so if other sources of mortality, infanticide, vehicle strikes, nuisance bear removal had an impact on the population, that captured the reduction in age, the increased female harvest in the sample that we get from hunters.
I'm not following that.
So there's a population of bears in Nevada, and various die in different ways.
Right.
Though the data that I presented to you on the table only represents the bears taken by. If there were implications on the population from sources of mortality, then those would be captured in the bears that we look at harvested by sportsmen. So if so many vehicle strikes that there were so fewer bears and sportsmen, younger bears or more females, that would be captured. That makes sense. But in these tables that I showed, these only represent the bears taken by hunters.
Okay. Yeah, and I do understand what you're saying now, and I guess this kind of, ironically, it kind of continues to enforce, my concerns in my mind anyway, at least my personal concerns. I don't know if there's a propensity for young bears to be hit by bears because they haven't learned how to cross the road like an older bear would. I don't know those. I don't understand the dynamic. I still have concerns with these numbers. I know that there's the trends. I appreciate there's efforts being made, especially with the hair sample. I'm real curious to see what comes out of that, and the work being done to try to find to continue to improve, I should say, pushing population estimates. And I definitely appreciate that there is information gathered through the hunt. There's no doubt about it. But I'm still concerned that I just don't feel comfortable with. I just feel like there's too many variables still. I'm not on board with the hunt at this point. I just don't. Wish I understood it a little bit. Maybe it's ignorance, but I'm trying to really understand how these work and the movement back and forth. I appreciate that there's something here to look at, to measure by. I get it. I do understand what you're saying about the hunter numbers reflect the broader picture of what's going on, that it reflects in those numbers. But I'm just not sure. I think there's just too many variables for me still out there. So probably not surprised. I'm just not where. I'm just not there to support a hunt.
Additional comments or questions? Hubs?
Yes, I talked to you about the input from the public. One of the concerns that I have, I was fortunate enough to meet a black bear face-to-face after our last November commission meeting. This bear kind of delayed in getting up the mountain, and multiple calls had their technician have to go out, kind of help get that bear up to where he was it a he or a she? It was a he. A couple commissioners were fortunate enough to see this. So actually that bear, and I know bears are all different, was attracted to the urban area and was trying on, is it called hyperphagia, or when they're trying on a bunch of calories, they have to eat 25,000 calories a day to fatty enough to go through hibernation. I was just looking at the dates here, and that bear was struggling, maybe misguided. It was a younger bear, and it was November, so he needed biologically to get up high, and he needed to get ready for hibernation. And if you look at the dates, that's right when we're hunting them. Seems to me with this whole idea, I've heard a lot about the hound. I'm like, I don't necessarily think it's the best time to have hounds chasing a bear down. I don't think that's helpful to them in any capacity at this time. Like this bear was just trying to get its biological needs for hibernation. To me, I find that antithetical to holding them. I don't think that is what's best for the bear. I do wonder about the dogs at that time. I don't know if there's a better time to do a hunt, but it seems really critical to them biologically to be chasing them around with dogs and shooting at them. I don't know. And I am concerned about the numbers because we don't know them that well. We're getting there. For me, I definitely don't want to extend boundaries or use shotguns. I don't want to add anything to the hunt. I'm for reducing the season in general. If anything, tailor lower in number, giving them more time to be left alone at the very end of the winter.
Any additional comments? East?
I too had a lot of correspondence, but I appreciated the most the correspondence that gave me statistical information, and that came from various but specifically the Nevada Sporting Dog Alliance. And I'm the seasons is what we're talking about today, not the quota, but the seasons. So the fact that adding that, the fact that in 2018 report percent utilization of the meat, and I think that's what I'm most interested in is how people are utilizing their harvest. And so I am in favor of setting the season. I am in favor of the hunt, and I appreciate very much the correspondence that we received on both sides. Thanks.
Any additional comments? I guess I'll offer mine then at this time. I question whether wildlife commissions receive the same type of wrath commission reviews, and I question that because I believe over 1,000 bears were taken in the state of California last year. For 1,500 in the state of California, we harvested 17. Hundreds were taken in Oregon. I don't know other states, but it's probably the last time I speak on this issue, so I'm going to speak. Everybody's entitled to their opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And what I constantly hear is that the public is overwhelmingly opposed to hunt. Take a look at the emails the department receives and this commission receives. In the emails I received, demonstrates a public campaign based upon misinformation and lies. That to the public position that I received in emails, sure took the time to actually read the email they sent. It was logical. Starting off with the idea that this is a trophy hunt, because it was a trophy hunt, they were opposed to it, only then to conclude that the hunt was objectionable because sportsmen would take action to then have the trophy reporters desiring destroyed by their hounds. Time I got an email that talked about how this bear hunt was akin to cockfighting, dog fighting, because sportsmen would use hounds to tree the bear only to then intentionally wound the bear and offer the bear to their dogs as a reward. That was repeated in email after email I received. Opposition based upon complete misunderstanding. Opposition based upon some sort of social media campaign that wasn't based upon the truth. I received emails that then would conclude, and by the way, stop rounding up wild horses. Educate yourself what this commission does or does not do before you criticize what we do. The wild horse roundup, not the Department of Wildlife or this commission. We've talked about that at length. So I get these constant and then personal attacks in the emails. So we say it's a trophy hunt. What does it even mean, trophy hunt? I really like to define it, because if I accept the argument that a hunt is objectionable because it's a trophy hunt, the logical extension of that argument is that many of the hunts in the state of Nevada would then have to go away, because many of our hunts are considered some of the best trophy hunts, however the term is defined, in the United States, if not the world. Because we have the bighorn sheep, we have the Rocky Mountain, we have some of the biggest mule deer. So I don't even understand what that objection is based upon. I hear it's not needed for management. If I accept that argument, we could take it to its logical extension. We didn't have to give the elk tag, give sportsmen opportunity to bring our elk numbers down. We could have found other ways to lethally take elk sportsman opportunity. I hear that the bear hunt has no benefit. Sportsman opportunity benefit. And if people don't understand sportsman opportunity benefits all wildlife, they need to understand how the Department of Wildlife operates and how it's funded. It's the same arguments are based upon just a pure, non-fact-based opposition to this hunt. And I've served, I think the 6th time I've had to sit this season, I hear the same thing. I keep being told, well, you don't listen. I do listen. What ultimately happened this time is I listened and I looked at the emails and I realized people are being provided false information that then prompts them to oppose, only to have those who oppose the hunt come and tell me public position. So I support this hunt. I do think it has a benefit. We have information about our bears. We have sportsmen and a department invested in the bear population. And my biggest concern is whether that investment and that attention that we give to this bear population goes away if you end this hunt out of a purely emotional action because there's just opposition because it's a bear. And if you do that, where does it end? Because if I accept the argument of those who are opposed, they can apply to virtually every hunt that exists. If I take them out of political extension. So I just felt the need to speak my mind on this as clearly as I could because, well, I'm going to be the last I get to sit here and express all my views on it. Although I don't think I've expressed anything new. I've said this in prior meetings. And with that, I support this. I believe it is having an ultimate benefit to the state. And we're not an outlier. So with that, I would a motion to approve Commission Regulation 20-02, the 2020 black bear seasons as presented. Other comments or discussion on the motion? Motion to approve the 2020 bear seasons by Chairman Johnston, seconded by Vice Chair East. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-2. We'll move then on to agenda item 18F, Commission Regulation 20-03-2020-2021 Mountain Lion Harvest. Wildlife Staff Specialist Pat Jackson for possible action. The Commission will consider adopting 2020-2021 Mountain Lion hunting season open units, harvest limits by unit group, hours, and special regulations. Mr. Jackson.
Pat Jackson, Staff Specialist for the record. To recommend today both lions and harvest limits. No change. We recommend a statewide harvest limit of 247 lions, 2 lions taken on an hunt in 091, interstate hunt with Utah, and then 245 throughout the state. To dive into that a little bit, in Anderson et al. Identified 5 genetic subpopulations that we snapped to our management area, and then also defined another known as the population. There aren't a lot of lions there. It's really younger animals dispersing, moving through a very arid part. And so we look at harvest within subpopulations. And so we consider 2 thresholds, overall female harvest and female harvest. And I will note that in the cover letter for this agenda, Brian Wakeling, 25 is 35% as our threshold for adult females taken. And so if we look at the various subpopulations, we are under those. I will point out that in the central part, we are close, and so I am going to watch that closely, and in years we may recommend a unique limit for that central area, but at this time we are not. That's what this looks like. I would note that the same closed units exist. And I'd also like to point out that this hunt, sportsmen can have tags, and you can take 1 animal per tag. You can hunt lions both day and night, and we maintain a 1-800 number for sportsmen to ensure that the season is still. So with that, I would recommend that you would adopt this seasons and harvest limits 20-03 as presented.
Questions for Mr. Jackson? Commissioner Hubbs?
Yes, we all the commissioners believe received the Mountain Lion Foundation Saving American Lion report and talk about science. A lot of science cited in here, reputable journals. And one of the things that struck me was I've always been informed by this department that our take on mountain lion hunting is not additive. Citing records that reflect that it might be, especially as it goes on to our state's predator plan and how that might be along with the hunting component as well. And at times with the predator management plan, it's difficult because it seems like this is just a species no one knows about. I mean, you just get this overall feel that this apex predator is not very beneficial. It may not be beneficial at times because it might compete with, say, recreational activities like hunting. They may take additional deer or things of that nature. But this entire article, to me, or random that they sent to us, really focuses on the harm it can have on apex predator taking too many all at once in terms of its ability to rebound. Do we have any concerns about the additive component? I mean, are we still as a department that these 2 things, the hunting year-round and the predator management plan, are not additive in terms of the population numbers?
Pat Jackson, for the. I'd like to start off by a little frustrating on my part. The Mountain Lion Foundation did not reach out to me about the seasons and harvest limits predator plan, and I was actually forwarded that email from Commissioner. I would have liked to discuss some other points. From an additive standpoint, I say that we have a solid mountain lion harvest. It's very dependent upon snow, and so it is considered an NAC that the season will start the first day of March until the last day in February. So that's the harvest limit. Looking at the literature, I don't think that from a population standpoint that we are over harvesting lions anywhere, but I will say that there are times where we do want to have additive mortality from mountain lions, predominantly for the benefit of horned sheep. So, there are places where, yes, it is additive, and we want that for the benefit, albeit temporarily, for other big game.
So certain areas, obviously, where a lot of the predator management plan, we are saying we want additive pressure here.
Yes.
Additional questions for Mr. Jackson? Public comment in Elko.
The Elko staff is in support of the Lions seasons as presented. In fact, there were citizens and sportsmen that came in and they suggested that perhaps something similar to Idaho is done with deer tags, and if a person has a deer tag, they could actually harvest a wolf. So the correlation there was that if you had a deer tag or a big game tag, that you may also get a mountain lion tag.
Additional public comment in Elko.
No additional comment in Elko.
Public comment in Reno.
Yes, this is Steve Robinson, Washoe. The Washoe CAB unanimously supports lion season as proposed.
Hi, Rowdy Fitzgerald. I'm from Churchill County. I feel that the hunt should go as proposed due to the fact that the no hunting in California, we get bleed over lions that come into the Reno area that are attacking livestock. I've seen multiple instances on social media where people have had foals killed out of stalls in the backyards, ranchers losing cattle, sheep, and pets to lions. And I to wholeheartedly support the hunt. Thank you.
Rex Flowers speaking for myself. Only thing I would add to it is I would hope to reconsider opening 033 to mountain lion hunting. Somebody say, well, we can't do that because it is a federal reserve or refuge. But wildlife on that refuge, the city is mandated to manage them. And given what's going on the refuge with deer populations, and there is room to allow for lion hunting there. And we have to challenge, at some point, we have to challenge the federal government to the right to manage our wildlife. Thank you.
No more comment in Reno.
Public comment in Las Vegas.
Stephanie for the third. The mountain lion hunt really needs reform. Any time, day or night, 365 days a year, that's an awful lot. Problem lions can be dealt with separately. Hours and the season really need to be brought down. When I talk to hunters, they say, oh, we only hunt them in the winter because we need the snow to get their footprints. Well, if that's the case, then why don't the hours and the season reflect that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Talaga, Clark County CAB. There is a vote of 4 in favor of supporting the proposal as is with these notes that Unit 033 should be opened with a quota of 1. Trappers are, Sheldons are overrun with lions. That's the first. The second, the first dissenting opinion felt that 24/7 season was unethical and not a manageable. The second dissenting opinion was the motion to open Unit 33 was not something we recommend until we hear from NDOW why opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment here in Las Vegas? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission. Further discussion? comments or motion? Commissioner McNish.
Mr. Chair. Pat, what are the, I didn't see the estimates. I thought I had read it. I have a number. What's the population estimate right now?
So we don't currently estimate the population of mountain lions. We use those metrics, overall adult female. To that, Project 42 in the predator plan is the build of an integrated population model, and that is to us with an estimate. However, at this time, I don't know how accurate it would be. Okay. So I don't have a number at this time.
All right.
Any additional comments or questions? Discussion, Commissioner Hubbs?
Since I guess we're being gutturally honest today after Black Bear, I do agree. I don't think we know much about it. We don't even have an estimate right now. And I don't understand the whole 24/7, 2 hours a day, 365 days a year either in terms of, when I think we've talked about this in the past that they actually have their kittens throughout the year. There's no major period of time in which they tend to den and have kittens. Is that true?
Pat Jackson, staff specialist for the records. Mountain lions do have a birth pulse in early spring. However, they certainly can around.
And what was the purpose of 365 days a year season?
The day and night and 365 days is captured in NAC.
It's under regulation that it has to be.
Correct.
So when you're setting it, it just has to be, and we are to modify NAC.
From my understanding, that's correct. In preparation for this presentation, I had some conversations with reporters, and from my understanding, and I may understand all the moving parts, but at a minimum, to change NAC, it would be three different commission meetings. Yes.
Other comments? Commissioner Valentine?
This is probably a question for NDOW. And what would be the mechanics for adding Unit 033 to the mountain lion hunt? Is that even a possibility?
For the question, I don't believe it's possible today. The mechanics would include some form of, this is federally administered land and a federal property. There would be likely requirement for, at a very minimum, a planning process through the U.S. Wildlife Service administers the refuge, and possibly extending all the way into a NEPA type potential impacts that would open that up for public comment. We do have a new hunt fish chief that works for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that under this Secretary of the Interior, who's fulfilling an initiative that originally taken by Secretary Zinke to end hunting and fishing opportunities on the refuge system throughout the country, and we do have a new hunt fish chief in place who's reached out and expressed a desire to get together and talk about some of these. So we'll learn a little more about the specific mechanics of that, but it's not something that the Commission could take action on today with any realistic hope of having that opportunity.
Additional questions, comments? Commissioner Burns?
I guess I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to adopt Commission Regulation 20-03 2021 Mountain Lion Season and Harvest Limits as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Barnes, seconded by Commissioner Valentine to approve Commission Regulation 20-03, the 2020-2021 Lion Season Harvest Limits as presented.
Just wanted to say, it sounds like we can't modify this season anyway. I mean, it's pretty much we have to agree with the season based on our own regulations, is what I'm hearing. And for that reason, I'll support the season, but I do have concerns with a 365-day 24 hours a day. I'm not sure why we would do that to animals.
Everyone clear the motion? Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-0. It is noon. We still have at least 7 or 8 agenda items. Would you like to take a break for lunch or go through the remaining agenda items without a break? I know what's going to happen. We take a lunch break, we're going to come back, we're going to be done in like 30 minutes. If we don't take a lunch break, it's going to take like 2 hours. So I feel like whatever decision I make on the lunch break will to be wrong.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It doesn't profit time. I think what I'm picking up on is that people aren't necessarily hungry enough to sit down for a full-blown meal. Maybe you just give a half hour, say run and get what you want and bring it back and eat it if you have to. Running late.
Are there machines here to grab a Snickers bar?
They've got Snickers bars and stuff. Yes, I had one yesterday.
I am. And more importantly, East is home. With that, let's take a lunch break. Reconvene at 1 o'clock.